Let's stay on the theme of Donald Trump. He's doing a little bit of backpedaling this morning about comments he made yesterday, suggesting that Russia should hack into Hillary Clinton's email. Take a listen.
Russia, if you're listening, I hope you're able to find the 30,000 emails that are missing. I think you will probably be rewarded mightily by our press.
Of course I'm being sarcastic, and they don't even know, frankly, if it's Russia. They have no idea if it's Russia, if it's China, if it's somebody else. Who knows who it is?
All right, Mo, so Donald Trump advocating for a foreign power to hack into his political opponents' emails. You said that last week they spent time at the convention trying to coalesce their base. Maybe they did that, but then when something like this happens, for those Republicans who weren't able to come out last week in support of Donald Trump, how does this go against that?
No, it's ridiculous. And I think there are a lot of reasonable Republicans out there that want to support him, right? They don't like Hillary Clinton. They want to support him. Maybe they take a step towards it, and then he says something like this, which, you know, is so ridiculous, so borderline illegal, if not treasonous, in what he's advocating, that it just, you know, every time he takes a step forward and trying to coalesce people behind him, he takes 5 steps back.
Yeah, Linda, they used to say, you know, politics stops at the edge of, you know, our shore's edge, right? And now you're seeing something completely different. Now, to be fair, this whole election cycle has been something that no one has ever seen before. Right. And yet, I wonder, David Frum, who wrote in The Atlantic yesterday, had an interesting article. He's a conservative, and he said that a lot of Republicans are going to try to spin what Donald Trump said to saying, look, Hillary Clinton is the one who really put our national security at risk by having a private email server, whereas that's not the same. Donald Trump is asking a foreign power, some people consider an enemy, to essentially tap into her emails, and he's advocating on behalf of a foreign power. What do you make of David Frum's?
Yeah, and I would say we have, in fact, had some Republican strategists on CBSN trying to spin it exactly the way that you're saying. It's very, very clear. This is extraordinarily unpatriotic. It's not heard of. I mean, and nobody could have anticipated that anybody with a microphone, much less somebody who's vying to be president of the United States, would ever encourage Russia to actually hack somebody in the United States.
So how does he walk this back, Liz, if he can?
Well, you know what I think is fascinating about this is, you know, he has tried to walk it back. But his campaign has also somehow been touting this as, you know, great counter-programming, you know, in the vein of all press is good press. And, you know, I brought today's New York Times on just to use as a prop here.
Let's get a shot of that.
And look, so you see here, Obama touts optimism at the convention, and here that Donald Trump urges Russian spying. And that, is not
a tale of two cities.
That is not effective counter-program, and that is proof positive that not all press is good press.
Although there's a lot of people across this country who are going to say it's the New York Times. You know.
No, I got to tell you, there are a lot of other front pages that look like this one. This one just had the most TV ready.
Always thinking like a programmer, yes. Liz. Always thinking like. So, all right. So we acknowledge that this is probably going to continue to dog the Trump campaign, even as he tries to walk it back. And at some point, he may even decide to go the other way and say, you know.
Or he may say something else inflammatory or insane or unexpected, and that ends up wiping this off of the front pages. If for no other reason, then there's just fresh content, something else to focus on.
And that's something that I think even we had Sean Spicer here yesterday, and I asked him just point blank, is your office constantly on high alert because you're having to clean up some of these comments, these statements, these tweets that Mr. Trump is making? And, you know, of course, he was very diplomatic about that, but it does seem as if there's a huge disconnect between what he says and what he does and what perhaps Paul Manafort and the RNC
and his communications staffers. I mean, you're sitting next to 3 communications directors who I am sure have been cringing every single time that happens. And not just because of the fact that it's a bad message overall, but also because you can kind of relate and feel sorry for our colleagues.
Moments before he said it, his running mate put out a statement saying that there should be severe consequences for Russia if they did it. And then minutes later, Donald Trump takes to the podium and says this. I mean, they can't even get their act together within their own ticket.
Yeah, and to Linda's point about feeling bad for our colleagues, I do feel bad for our colleagues at the RNC because they got more mops in that place than a janitorial closet.
Before we go, we're going to wrap up in just a second, but I want to ask you about Michael Bloomberg. Do you think that his message resonated with those moderates, those people that are on the fence? You're talking about a billionaire, and this is Michael Bloomberg is a real billionaire. I mean, he is the real deal. I'm not saying that Trump isn't a successful businessman, but you had this sort of toe-to-toe, mano-a-mano, billionaire to billionaire. How do you think that message resonated with independents?
I mean, I think it was an incredibly powerful message. I've long believed there is no more potent constituency in American politics than suburban mothers. And Michael Bloomberg going out there and talking about Hillary Clinton and her commitment to keeping our streets safe and reasonable restrictions on guns, as well as the rest of his message, is speaking directly to them. It's an incredibly powerful message.
All right. Liz Smith, Mo Elliott, and Linda Tran, we thank you. Thanks for stopping by.